What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the Nature Boy, woo, Ric Flair. This is another wrestling profile. Basically, Ric Flair started off wrestling at a really young age. He went through all the ranks, ended up becoming the NWA champion, and he was handpicked by the whole committee of different territories to be the champion. And he would be the champion that would go, say the AWA or go to, different territories around, be it Texas, where the Von Erichs were with World Class Championship Wrestling, or different places like that, and he would be the world champion. Over the years, as world champion throughout the 70s and 80s, he fought people like Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes. In the 90s, of course, Sting, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Ric Flair pretty much has done it all in the business. He's a 16-time champion. He's 16 times according to WWE. He was 14 times according to WCW. In reality, he's 23 times. It's just a matter of what they're counting and what they're not counting, because there's titles that WWE doesn't count that were in WCW, and there's WCW doesn't include the WWF titles. So it gets kind of confusing that way. But Ric Flair, with his famous figure four leg lock, took on numerous people, like I said, even like Nikita Koloff, him and Dusty Rhodes, I think, and Dusty Rhodes, and him and Harley Race were the two main ones that kind of put Flair on the map because they were his first title runs. He said he's actually learned a lot from Harley Race, and when Sting was coming up, Sting wrestled Flair tons. They actually had an awesome match that rivaled, I believe it was WrestleMania 7, I want to say, or 8. And it was just a crazy match. Like they said, they've wrestled numerous times. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Ric Flair had amazing runs together as well. Those two just had amazing chemistry in the ring. In 1991, 91, Ric Flair came to WWF. Of course, he was having problems with WCW. I believe it was Bill Watts came in and wanted Ric Flair to change his whole image. He wanted him to be a different persona, and it's Ric Flair. Ric Flair is not going to do that. Ric Flair doesn't take shit from anyone. He's like Honey Badger. So Ric Flair was like, fuck this, I'm going to take the title, go to WWF. He shows up in WWF as the champion, as the world champion. No one in WWF had ever seen this title before, or none of us who were watching WWF had seen this title before, because it was restricted to the different territories. He came in that year, he won the Royal Rumble, ended up becoming WWF champion, had a run against Macho Man. It was just, he was in a Survivor Series with Perfect, ended up going back to WCW after his year and a half run in WWF. And, of course, one thing I didn't mention about the NWA was his collection of matches as the Four Horsemen. The Four Horsemen had changed numerous times over the years, but Ric Flair has gone on record saying that the main Four Horsemen was himself, Barry Windham, Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard. And the Four Horsemen were just amazing in the 70s and 80s. They were just the main faction of wrestling. If you watched wrestling, you understood how much of an impact the Four Horsemen had. They all went out there and put out stellar matches, and at one time, they were all champions. But going back to WCW in 92, he came back, he went up against Vader, just as that time was, with Vader was finishing up, was the time Hogan came in. We had our dream match with Hogan and Flair. Then, as Hogan progressively turned into Hollywood Hogan during the NWO era, Ric Flair actually started up the Four Horsemen again. He had Arn Anderson, himself, Mr. Perfect, and I forget who the fourth person was. I think it was Dean Malenko. And I know Benoit was in there too, but we're not going to get into that. And the Four Horsemen still reigned supreme in WCW for a while there. And it was Ric Flair who finished off the last Nitro with Sting because of their amazing rivalries over the years. Ric Flair would come to WWE and start off in like a role where he was half owner with Vince McMahon, which was amazing for Ric Flair to do. Ric Flair would go on to be a part of Evolution. He would still have amazing matches towards the end of his WWE career against Shawn Michaels. That was a finisher match at WrestleMania. He would bounce to TNA. TNA really didn't do much with Ric Flair. Ric Flair is a major asset in the wrestling industry. I'm surprised they didn't, do as much as they could with Ric Flair. Sure, he had his little temper tantrums here and there in TNA, but really, realistically, they could have done a lot more with him. And now Ric Flair coming back to the WWE again. Ric Flair has actually been, I believe he's the only person to be inducted twice into the Hall of Fame. He was inducted with the Four Horsemen, and he was inducted by himself. So that's pretty much the wrestling profile of Ric Flair. You guys let me know what you guys think about Ric Flair. What's your favorite Ric Flair match? Comment below. If you like this video, definitely give it a like. If you're not subbed, definitely hit the sub button up there, and I will catch you guys later. I'm out. Peace.